Hello there, and welcome to Dr. JT's It's All in My Head Weight Loss Program. I'm Dr. JT, and in today's episode, I'm going to talk about how do we get started? How do we get started with our It's All in My Head Weight Loss Program? How do we motivate ourselves to go from having an idea, having a desire, to taking that first big step to actually putting our plan, putting our desire into action? So let's think about the big picture here. The big picture is you have some desire to achieve something, to achieve weight loss. In fact, it's more than just to achieve weight loss, it's to achieve weight loss and maintain that weight, the weight level, after you lose that weight. Because maybe you've dieted in the past, maybe you've tried to lose weight and you've lost some weight, but you haven't been able to keep it off. So you have an idea and you want to figure out how do you succeed in order to lose weight and keep that weight from coming back. Now, the first thing that I want you to do there, pat yourself on the back, because that's important. You're starting to think about it, and you're thinking seriously about it. So how do we motivate ourselves to get started with this program? Now, important point here is what's different about this program compared to a diet? Well, the difference is that if you're on a diet, the diet tells you what you're supposed to eat. It tells you you might have this for breakfast, this for lunch, this for dinner, but it's laying out a roadmap. And we're going to talk more about the problems with the diet in the future, but just very briefly, what I'm going to say is the problem with the diet is it's coming from outside of you. It's not inside. It's somewhere out there. And if it's not inside, you can follow the diet, but when you get to some point, you've lost some weight, well, the diet says, well, how do you get there, but how do you continue? And the problem is, as we talked about in other videos in this series, is that once you get there, the reality is there's no there. There isn't a there. There's life. It's life. You have to keep on living. And if you don't know what you're going to do when you get there, the diet just tells you how to get there. It doesn't tell you how you stay there. And in fact, you didn't understand how you got there in the first place because it was outside of you. But we're talking about something that's inside of you. So it's inside of you. How do you get motivated then? How do you get motivated with something that's inside? Because the diet says, okay, you do this, you follow this program. This is something inside. So how do you get started? What the diet quite often doesn't tell you, what people don't tell you because they don't really want you to understand this, is that if you're at a certain weight level, if you're overweight and you're at a certain weight level, the chances are you're eating more than you need. You've gained weight, you're eating more than you need. And in fact, the first part of your weight loss program is actually low-hanging fruit. It's just sitting there waiting to be picked. It's actually the easiest part of the program. A diet's going to tell you, you make these changes, just follow this program. But the reality is that it's low-hanging fruit that's right there. You don't need a diet to get started with this. So the very simple thing is you need to eat less, but how do you motivate yourself to get started when there isn't some outside program telling you what you need to do? We're telling you it's going to come from inside of you. So the first thing is realize it's low-hanging fruit. It's just sitting there waiting to be picked. So how do you pick it without having somebody to tell you exactly what you do? What I've told you is to start this program. You want to go to bed a little bit hungry every night. So in the weight loss part of your program, you're going to be going to bed just a little bit hungry every night. So what does that mean? That means you're going to be consuming just a little bit less energy than what you need to sustain the body that you have right now. Well, how do you do that? What's the small change that you can make now to get started with this program? What's the change that you can make? Well, if you go to bed just a little bit hungry, then the question is, what do you do to do that? What kind of change do you need to make? Think about this. Think about, what change do I need to make to go to bed just a little bit hungry? Well, I've got to eat a little bit less food. That's right. But how do I do it in a way that I can manage that change? Because that's what you want to do. You want to be able to manage the change that you're making. Because if you can't manage it, you're not going to be successful. You're not going to stay with the program. That's why we're talking about making a small change. And we're not worried about some target. We just want to make the small change and get on that path. So how do you get on that path? How do you get on that journey and go in that direction? Well, think about what you may need to do. Maybe it's eating a little bit less at dinner. Maybe it's eating a little bit earlier and a little bit less. Maybe it's eating a little bit more at lunch, having a nice meal at lunch. And the thing you want to think about also, you're going to have to start thinking about your life. And you might say, well, things get in the way. And we'll talk more about this in future videos. But there's something, what is the one thing that you can change, adjustment that you can make? Because you have to make an adjustment. You have to adjust something in your life. You have to make a permanent adjustment. That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about something temporary. We're talking about something permanent. But remember, it's low-hanging fruit. It's just sitting there. It's sitting there waiting for you to pick it. That's what I want you to do, to think about, to get you started. It's actually the easiest part of your program, is getting started. When you realize that, even though that's the hardest thing is to get started, the reality is that it's the easiest part, is just sitting there. So what small change do you need to make? What small adjustment in your life? Maybe it's your schedule, in when you eat, the amount that you eat at dinner. Again, we're not talking about a dramatic change. We're just talking about a small change. Maybe it's what you eat a few nights a week. That part you need to think about. You need to think about what you do, what you eat. You have to become aware of this, because this is a mental program. This isn't a diet out there to tell you what you're supposed to do. It's got to come from inside of you. You've got to think about what you do now. You've got to think about how you live your life now. What's one adjustment that you can make now to get that low-hanging fruit that's just sitting there? It's just waiting. It's waiting for you to pick it. It's waiting there for you to grab it and start your program. What's the one small adjustment that you can make that's going to start you on that path, that you can live with, that you can sustain, so that you can go to bed every night in your part of your program? Are you losing weight? Just a little bit hungry. Just a little bit hungry. So before I go, I want to wrap up what the 3 pillars of this program are. So we want to remember that, what the 3 pillars of this program are. So it's making small changes. You want to think about what's that small change you can make to get started. To remember, We're not talking about a target or a goal. We're talking about a journey. And remember, we're talking about going slow. We're not talking about a dramatic change. We're not in a big hurry. You just want to make a change that you can live with, that's sustainable, that's going to make a difference. But don't get too ambitious. Just start picking that low fruit. It's the low fruit that's sitting there. And that small adjustment, big enough to make an impact, but small enough you can manage, so you can start picking that fruit, that low fruit that's sitting there, so that you can get started with this It's All in My Head weight loss program. So thank you for watching. Hit the like button. Please subscribe to my channel. And please share this video with someone that you care about. So I look forward to seeing you next time. And thanks for watching. Bye.